From the moment you were young, the world began feeding you stories. Stories that a man must chase, that if he doesn't pursue her relentlessly, he doesn't deserve her. Cartoons, movies, fairy tales, even advice from older men who meant well but didn't understand modern women. Everything around you trained you to believe that persistence is the key, that calling her every day, showing up uninvited, showering her with love even when she hasn't earned it, would somehow melt her heart. And if it didn't work, they'd say you just weren't trying hard enough. But what if I told you that chasing her is the very reason she lost interest? That your good intentions, your consistent efforts, your sweet texts and loyalty were never the problem, but your energy was pointed in the wrong direction? Because the moment you start chasing her, you flip a switch in her psychology, a switch that triggers her to see you as less. Not because she's evil, but because she's wired that way. You think you're showing love. She sees desperation. You think you're being patient. She sees a man with no options. You think you're proving your worth. She's quietly wondering why a man of real value would be so available to someone who hasn't shown value in return. And deep inside, you've probably felt it. That gut-level frustration after doing everything right and still being ghosted. You gave her attention. You were different from the others. You treated her with kindness. You waited, hoping she'd notice. But instead, you got silence, indifference. Maybe she breadcrumbed you with haze, and I've been busy, but never with actions. And still you chased. But now let's flip the mirror. Think back to any moment when a woman admired you, genuinely. Maybe you were confident, unavailable, living your life. Maybe you weren't texting every hour. Maybe you were focused on your craft, your body, your money, your growth. And what happened? She reached out. She asked questions. She gave you energy first. That wasn't an accident. That was attraction in its natural state. Men who don't chase don't do it because they read it in a book. They do it because they understand value. Not just surface-level value, but the psychology behind it. High-value men are rarely found begging. They move like men who have options, even if they don't. They operate from abundance, not scarcity. They don't ask for permission to be wanted. They let women make the choice and walk away when the energy isn't mutual. This isn't about playing games. It's about reversing the energy. When a woman feels like she's the prize, the chooser, the one with the upper hand, she relaxes. She lets her feminine energy unfold. But when she feels her energy pulling too hard, too fast, she begins to protect herself, to test, to retreat. Why? Because deep inside, she needs to respect you first before she can love you. And respect can't be forced. It can only be earned through presence, boundaries, and self-worth. If you want to shift the game forever, stop asking, "How do I get her to like me?" And start asking, "Does her energy match mine?" This tiny shift flips your brain from needing validation to observing value, from being the chaser to being the chooser. When you chase, your value is dependent on her acceptance. When you attract, your value is established before she even enters the room. In fact, let's go deeper. Attraction isn't about effort. It's about energy. Women don't fall for men who try harder. They fall for men whose presence commands respect. The man who enters a room without explaining himself, who listens more than he speaks, who can walk away with his pride intact. That man is rare. That man is unforgettable. And that man never chases. Let her think about you. Let her wonder. Let her initiate. The power of silence isn't punishment, it's awareness. It shows you're not desperate. You're disciplined. You're detached. You've trained your emotions not to seek shortcuts, but to invest only where it's earned. A woman must feel your value before she feels your love, not the other way around. The next thing most men don't realize is this. The moment you start to chase, you unconsciously agree to a lower position. You place her on a pedestal she didn't ask to be on. And even if she enjoys the attention temporarily, deep down, you've given away your power. Women are biologically and psychologically wired to be drawn to men they feel compelled to impress, not men begging for their time. This is not about being arrogant. It's about being centered, calm, and grounded in who you are. It's the presence that says, "I choose," instead of, Please pick me. And once you understand this, the entire game changes. This isn't manipulation, it's masculine restraint. A man who doesn't chase is a man who isn't controlled by impulses. He doesn't rush to prove his worth because he already believes in it. Women sense this. It's subtle, but incredibly magnetic. Think about it. When was the last time you truly respected someone who was overly eager, always available, always responding in seconds, always trying to impress you? Now flip the script. Think about that one person who was calm, confident, a little mysterious, and didn't seem bothered whether you liked them or not. You probably thought about them more than you expected. That's the effect. That's the energy we're aiming for. Here's where most men get trapped. They think if they don't chase, she'll forget them, that she'll move on, that she'll find someone else. But this fear only lives in men who haven't yet built their sense of inner value. You have to be so convinced of your worth that her silence doesn't shake you, her delay doesn't break you, her rejection doesn't define you. Because when you're rooted in your masculine essence, you become the storm. You don't chase the rain, you are the rain. And that's when everything shifts. Let's talk about something few are willing to admit. Most men have been conditioned to believe that persistence equals success. In business, maybe. In dating, not quite. What actually works in romantic dynamics is alignment, not effort. The right woman, the one who's emotionally available and attracted to you, will show signs. She'll make it easier. She'll be open, receptive, playful. You won't have to climb a mountain to win her over. If you feel like you're fighting to be seen, chasing her approval, always waiting for crumbs, it's not alignment. It's desperation disguised as devotion, and she feels it. That's why she pulls away. But when you step back, when you pause, breathe, and reclaim your frame, something beautiful happens. You give her space to lean in. You become the void she wants to fill. And suddenly, the dynamic reverses. She starts to wonder about you. She starts to ask questions. She starts to initiate. Not because you manipulated her, but because you stopped manipulating yourself. You stopped betraying your own standards just to be liked. And in that moment, your presence becomes the test. Will she rise to meet it? You see, every woman wants to feel chosen, but only by a man who could choose anyone and still chooses her. That's where the power is. Not in convincing her, not in overgiving, but in embodying such strong self-worth that your attention becomes rare, selective, and earned. You become the prize, not in a cocky way, but in a deeply grounded way. And when that happens, everything else aligns. So what does this look like in real life? It looks like you stop texting first all the time. You stop double texting. You stop rearranging your life to please someone who hasn't earned that place. You start investing in yourself, your goals, your gym time, your mission. You let your energy speak louder than your words. And most importantly, you stop apologizing for wanting reciprocation. That's not needy, that's healthy. Because attraction isn't one-sided. It's a dance. And any dance requires both people to move in rhythm, not one chasing while the other escapes. Think about your best self, the one that wakes up early, trains hard, studies relentlessly, speaks with clarity, walks with intention. That version of you doesn't chase. He attracts. He builds. He chooses. That version of you becomes so rare, so intentional, so emotionally regulated that women can't help but notice. And those who don't, you let them go. Not from anger, but from knowing you are not for everyone. And that's your power. You are not in the business of convincing. You are in the business of aligning. That's when real respect begins. Every time you chase a woman who isn't showing equal interest, you delay the moment the right one enters your life, because your energy is tied to someone who doesn't value it. But when you detach, not with resentment, but with peace, you create space for someone who truly sees you, who chooses you without games. And that only happens when you stop running after love and instead become the embodiment of it. And just when you think you're doing everything right, texting her every day, showing her how much you care, planning dates, paying attention to her every little need, something strange starts to happen. She grows distant. Her replies get shorter. The warmth fades. The smile you once saw when your name popped up on her screen, it's no longer there. You feel it, the shift. It's like trying to hold onto water in your hands. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Here's what's really going on. Women don't fall for men who are always available. They fall for men who have options, for men who have presence, men whose lives are already full and not desperate to be filled. Your attention, when freely and endlessly given, loses its value. Just like a drug, the more she gets, the less it hits. And soon, she's not even high on you anymore. She's numb. But when a man pulls back, not out of strategy, but out of genuine purpose, because his mission is calling, because he's got goals to chase, a vision to build, that's when she starts wondering, noticing, wanting. This is where attraction really begins. Women are naturally drawn to uncertainty, not confusion, not games, but the kind of unpredictability that comes from a man being grounded in his own world. When you stop orbiting hers, she starts orbiting yours. But that can't happen if you don't believe you're the prize. Most men chase because they're subconsciously begging for approval, trying to earn love, trying to win her over. This comes from a place of lack, of not being enough. And a woman can smell that insecurity from miles away. She might not call it that, but it's what makes her feel turned off, like something just isn't right, like she's the one leading the dance, and nature didn't design her to lead it. Now let's go deeper. Every time you text her back instantly, every time you initiate again and again without reciprocity, every time you give when she hasn't earned, you're teaching her something. You're teaching her that your time is cheap, that your energy is infinite, that your love can be bought with breadcrumbs. And over time, she'll believe you. So what happens? She tests. She delays responses. She pulls back slightly to see what you'll do. And most guys, they double down. They try harder. They get more expressive. They panic, thinking they're losing her, when in reality, it was a loyalty test, and they failed. Because the man she truly desires is the one who doesn't flinch under pressure, the one who remains solid, even when she wavers. The man who knows that his worth isn't determined by whether she stays or walks away. He doesn't chase. He doesn't beg. He lets her go if she wants to. And that very confidence, that deep-rooted self-respect, is what makes her want to stay. So what does this mean for you? It means you stop seeking validation externally. You stop needing her to tell you that you matter. You stop giving your power away with every text, call, or effort that goes unreturned. Instead, you start investing that energy inward, into your physique, into your purpose, into your tribe of brothers who hold you to a higher standard. Because the truth is, masculine energy isn't desperate for connection. It invites it. It doesn't pursue blindly. It attracts intentionally. And when you become that man, women start to notice. Their curiosity gets triggered. Their imagination starts working. Why isn't he chasing me like the others? Why is he so composed? What's his story? And just like that, she's hooked. But make no mistake, this isn't about manipulation. This isn't about playing games. It's about becoming the man you were meant to be. And that man doesn't chase love. He builds a life so magnetic, so rich in meaning, that love chases him. Now let's pause here, because we're only getting started. And this is where most men get blindsided. Because once they sense a woman's interest, they assume the game is won. They start relaxing, revealing too much too soon, giving excessive compliments, and making themselves emotionally available in ways that haven't yet been earned. What they don't realize is that attraction in women is not fixed. It fluctuates based on how a man shows up over time. The moment you become too available, too predictable, too emotionally invested without her reciprocating that depth, her subconscious starts recalibrating. The thrill of the chase, gone. The challenge, defeated. And in its place, a sense of boredom or superiority sets in. You stop being a mystery. You become a mirror, showing her exactly what she expects, with no tension, no curiosity, no suspense. The truth is, most modern women are not looking for a man who gives everything away easily. They're unconsciously wired to test, to provoke, to assess your emotional stability, not because they're evil or manipulative, but because nature wired them to seek strength. inner strength, psychological steadiness, the kind of man who doesn't fold under pressure, who doesn't react emotionally to games, who doesn't become erratic the moment he feels uncertain. So when you start chasing, it signals something primal to her. This man needs me more than I need him. And that's where the attraction begins to crumble, because attraction is rarely about logic. It's about perception. And when a woman perceives that she has full control over your emotional state, she subconsciously begins to question your value. Here's the deeper problem. Most men never learned how to anchor themselves internally. They were taught to please, to prove, to pursue. They were conditioned to believe that love is something you earn through effort, attention, and devotion. But this conditioning turns men into emotional employees, always working to earn a woman's validation. And when you operate from that space, you're not in your masculine power. You're in survival mode. You're in performance mode. And women can feel that. She might smile and accept your gifts. She might thank you for your attention. But in her core, she's not falling for you. She's evaluating you, testing your frame, probing for weakness. And if you crumble under the weight of her tests, she knows she can't trust you to lead. You see, true masculine energy is about stillness, not passivity, but calm assertiveness. It's the energy of a man who knows what he brings to the table and doesn't beg anyone to sit with him. He doesn't need to chase, because he attracts. He doesn't over-explain, because his presence speaks louder than words. He doesn't compete for her attention, because he's too focused on his own mission to be distracted. And this is the kind of man that women respect, crave, and remember. Not the one who sends 12 good morning texts a week. Not the one who plans his life around her availability. Not the one who gets nervous if she takes too long to reply. But the one who stays grounded regardless of how she behaves. And the moment you start embodying this energy, something incredible happens. You stop fearing loss. You stop needing her to validate your worth. And that shift deep within you is what flips the entire dynamic. Because women are naturally drawn to men they can't fully figure out. Not because they want to be confused, but because it engages their feminine energy. It sparks their imagination. It draws out their desire to pursue. Yes, you heard that right. Women want to pursue, but only if you give them space to do so. If you're constantly initiating, constantly showing up, constantly chasing, they never get the opportunity to lean in. You've already done the leaning for them. And here's the kicker. The moment you step back, not in manipulation, but in self-respect, you start to see who she really is. Does she invest? Does she reach out? Does she value your presence? Or was she only responding to the effort you were making? This is how you filter for genuine interest versus conditional attraction. Because the truth is, not every woman deserves your time. Not every woman is capable of deep connection. And your job as a high-value man isn't to chase every woman who smiles at you. It's to protect your energy from women who don't align with your path. So let's get real. If you're tired of short-term flings, emotional roller coasters, and women losing interest after you show yours, the solution isn't to become colder. It's to become more centered. To be so connected to your purpose that you don't seek validation from anyone. Especially not someone who hasn't yet proven they deserve a seat at your table. When a man truly embraces his worth, he becomes a force. Not because he's loud or flashy or dominant, but because he's grounded. And that grounding is magnetic. It draws people in without effort. It creates space for genuine connection. And it commands respect without ever needing to beg for it. She starts to feel like you're the prize. Not because you say it, but because you live like it. By this stage, something inside her begins to shift. She notices that when she texts, you don't always reply instantly. You're not cold. You're just not always available. She wonders what you're doing, who you're with, why you don't seem to need her validation like other guys. And that's when the real magic happens, because now she's the one chasing you. This reversal doesn't come from manipulation. It comes from a deep-rooted shift in your identity. You stop seeing women as something you need to win over. Instead, you see them as individuals who will either complement your mission or not. And if they don't, you walk away with peace in your chest and power in your stride. You no longer need her to complete you because you've already built yourself into someone whole. You've developed passions. You've been consistent with your goals. You've sharpened your edge, not to impress her, but because that's who you are now. That's why women are drawn to men who seem unbothered, not because they want to be ignored, but because deep down, every woman wants to feel like she earned the attention of a man who had options and still chose her. But she cannot feel that if you hand yourself over too easily. In this dynamic, attention becomes currency. The more you give freely, the less it's worth. But when you're selective, when your attention must be earned, every look, every word, every moment of connection becomes reward. And she'll chase that reward, as long as it feels real, consistent, and worth having. So let her wonder where she stands sometimes. Let her feel the silence, not to punish her, but to give her space to realize your value. Most men are so afraid of a woman losing interest that they never give her the opportunity to prove it. They fill the gaps. They send the texts. They make the plans. But in doing so, they rob her of the chance to invest. And what we invest in, we value. Let her invest. Let her put in effort. Let her feel the tension, the curiosity, the suspense of a man who is not trying to impress, but simply expressing. Because when you chase, she runs. But when you attract, she stays. When your presence becomes the reward, not your effort, she'll show up differently. She'll soften. She'll open up. She'll make time. She'll become more responsive. Because now she's not reacting to pressure. She's responding to polarity. And this polarity, it can only be created when you step fully into your masculine edge. When you're not afraid to lead, but you're also not afraid to walk away. You'll know you've won the game when she starts initiating, when she starts planning the next date, when she sends a good morning texts. Not because she's desperate, but because she's drawn in, emotionally, energetically, and maybe even spiritually. And it all began when you stopped chasing and started becoming. Most men don't realize that the silent power they seek isn't found in proving their worth, but in remembering it. While the world constantly tells you to be louder, flashier, more impressive, real strength is in the calm, collected energy of a man who needs no validation. When you live in this truth, women feel it, not through words, but in the way you move, the way you look at them without desperation, the way you can walk away with your dignity intact. Because the man who can walk away always holds the most power. Now pause and think about that. Have you ever noticed how a woman's attraction seems to skyrocket when she sees you're no longer orbiting around her universe? It's not a game. It's primal psychology. Her brain is hardwired to respond to scarcity, to value what's slipping away, to chase what doesn't beg to be caught. That's why when you stop chasing and start choosing, everything shifts. The moment you realize your time, energy, attention, and presence are gifts, you'll stop handing them out like candy. You will become a man of intention, of quality, and not everyone will qualify. Some women will call you arrogant, others will call you cold, but the ones who matter will recognize your standard. They'll respect your boundaries because they respect themselves, and they'll come correct. This is the emotional shift most men miss. You're not just stepping away from chasing women, you're stepping into a new identity. The identity of a man who doesn't hustle for love, but attracts it by the sheer force of his alignment. Your presence becomes magnetic because you no longer need anything. That's the irony. When you need nothing, everything flows. And in this state, you'll start to see women differently. You won't be fooled by surface beauty. You'll look past the lashes and lips and curves and into the character. You'll study the way she talks about people when they're not around. You'll notice how she treats the waiter. You'll observe her patterns, her emotional habits, her response to stress, her relationship with truth. Because as a masculine man, you're not just looking for pleasure. You're vetting for peace, for partnership, for feminine energy that complements, not competes. And this is the level of clarity that will save your life. Because the wrong woman doesn't just drain your energy, she distorts your purpose. She'll have you second-guessing yourself, shrinking your dreams, apologizing for being masculine, until you no longer recognize the man in the mirror. That's why the real work is never about getting her. It's about keeping you, guarding your essence, protecting your masculine core like your life depends on it. Because it does. But listen closely. This shift doesn't mean becoming emotionally unavailable or cold. It means being rooted, strong in your boundaries, selective with your energy, generous with your love, but only to the woman who earns it through consistency, femininity, and reciprocation. This is not about punishing women. It's about honoring yourself. So what happens when you live this way? When you fully detach from the need to chase and embrace the power of attraction, the game changes. You stop wondering if she likes you and start asking if you even like her. You stop performing. You stop negotiating your worth. You walk into every interaction knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you won't tolerate. And that energy, calm, assertive, self-owned, is what turns heads, earns respect, and creates real desire. And here's the most powerful truth of all. When you master this, you won't just attract women. You'll attract the right woman, the one who's done with games, the one who's healed enough to recognize a real man, the one who meets your masculinity with nurturing, softness, loyalty, and admiration, not manipulation, not conditional love, not power struggles, but peace. And that, brother, is the finish line. Not endless dates, not meaningless flings, but alignment, a relationship where you can rest in your masculine frame while she radiates in her feminine flow. No chasing, no proving, just two healed people building something sacred. So as we wrap this journey, remember, you don't rise by begging for love. You rise by becoming love. You don't win by chasing her. You win by becoming the kind of man who doesn't have to. The man who draws loyalty not through fear or tactics, but through truth, presence, and purpose. Be that man, and everything else will follow.